Wall Street was in shock when the news came out that Warren Buffett sold literally half of his stake in Apple and as of right now has the largest cash position in its history. Is there something that Warren Buffett knows which we don't? In today's video, we will go over the latest 13F of Warren Buffett and take some key takeaways from Buffett's portfolio. This form discloses the equity holdings and provides insights into what the smart money is doing on Wall Street. And every management investor with over $100 million in assets under management, AUM for short, has to file this. The goal of this video is to go over Warren Buffett's portfolio and see what the latest moves are and to see which stocks Buffett sold and which ones he bought. Right off the bat, there are two major takeaways from this report. One is the major cash position. Berkshire Hathaway's cash position grew from $189 billion in the first quarter of 2024 to $277 billion in the second quarter of 2024. This is an increase of 46.60%. This major increase in the cash position has been caused by the second key takeaway, the major sell-off in Apple stock. Buffett reduced its stake in Apple by about 50%. 389 million shares were sold, a change of 29.29% in the entire portfolio. This has been the biggest change in many years. As of right now, Buffett has a clean 400 million shares left in Apple. In previous quarter, the portfolio consisted about 40.81% of Apple stock. Now only 30% of the entire portfolio consists of Apple. Still, by far the largest position of the portfolio. Notice that Buffett has been selling Apple shares for 3 consecutive quarters. And in earlier quarters, Buffett's answer for selling is basically due to building a cash position and tax reasons.
We have sold shares, and I would say that at the end of the year, I would think it extremely likely that Apple is the largest common stock holding we have now. So we will end up, unless something dramatically happens that really changes capital allocation, we will have Apple as our largest investment.
Because of this sell-off, you would think investors would hop on the sell-off train with Warren Buffett and started to panic sell Apple stock. But quite the opposite. Apple is at its all-time high. So I want to dive a little deeper into the portfolio and see what the biggest activities have been for this quarter. For this, I make use of the site Dataroma, showing us the latest holdings and the most recent activity. So first off, the number of stocks held. For the second quarter, this is 41. The same as last quarter, even though some new positions have been added and some positions have been sold. The portfolio value is at almost $280 billion. So let's take a look at the activity tab. We can see there has been a lot more activity than in previous quarters. There's a lot more red than green, but no major moves, except for the Apple reduction we just talked about. Stocks that were added are 96 million shares of Sirius XM holdings were added, 2.4 million and 4.5 million shares of both Liberty Series A and C, an additional 1.1 million shares of Chubb, and 7.2 million shares of Occidental Petroleum. The two new positions are Ulta Beauty, where 690,000 shares were added to the portfolio, and Heiko Corp, in which 1 million shares were added to the portfolio. Now for the positions that were sold off completely or only partially, 65,000 shares of Liberty Media Series A were sold, and 214,000 shares of the Series C variant, 4.3 million shares were sold of Chevron Corp, and 633,000 shares of Louisiana Pacific. T-Mobile got reduced by 570,000 shares and Floor & Decor for about 802,000 shares. 2.6 million shares of Capital One Financials were sold off, a reduction of 21.27% and 389 million shares of Apple were sold off, and like we saw earlier, a reduction of about half of the entire position. The two positions that were completely sold off are Snowflake and Paramount Global. Paramount is one I would like to mention a bit more about. Before the complete sell-off, Warren Buffett started to sell out of his Paramount position a few quarters ago by hefty numbers. Warren Buffett talked about this Paramount Global disaster in his latest annual meeting. Take a listen.
I should just throw this out there since there's been speculation on it. We've sold. I was 100% responsible for the Paramount decision. I read speculation that either Ted or Todd had some involvement in that. No, it was 100% my decision. And we sold it all, and we lost quite a bit of money, and that happens in this business too. Actually, owning Paramount made me think even further. I like to think deeper, but I certainly thought harder even about the whole question of what people do with their leisure time, what the governing principles are of running an entertainment business of any sort, whether it's sports or movies or whatever it might be. And I think I'm smarter now than I was a year or two, a couple years ago, but I also think I'm poorer because I acquired the knowledge in the manner I did.
This goes to show that even though Warren Buffett has so much knowledge and experience in the stock market, nobody can make the right calls about all the stock all the time. Many investors try to copy the portfolios of big investors, but this isn't always the smartest thing to do. The top 5 holdings hasn't changed much compared to previous quarters. Apple is still by far the largest holding, being 30% of the entire portfolio. Second is Bank of America with 14.67%. Third is American Express with 12.54%. Coca-Cola is fourth with 9%. And Chevron coming in at number 5 with 6.63%. Another takeaway from this report is that looking at the top 10 holdings, 9 of them pay out dividends, increasing the dividend payouts each and every year that passes. Only the 10th largest holding, DaVita Healthcare, doesn't pay a dividend, and the top 11 has a position in the portfolio that is larger than 1%. Now let's take a look at the sectors Buffett is invested in and summarize the key points from this report. The top buys are Occidental Petroleum, Chubb, Ulta Beauty, Sirius XM Holdings and Heiko Corp. The top sells are Apple, Snowflake, Capital One Financials, Floor & Decor and Paramount Global. Despite the big sale of stocks in Apple, we can see that the biggest sector that is invested in is information technology, and this hasn't changed much compared to the previous quarters. The second and third sectors that Warren Buffett is invested in are finance due to American Express and Bank of America, and consumer staples due to Coca-Cola and Kraft Heinz. Although Warren Buffett is known as a buy and hold forever investor, we can see that the average hold period of his stock is 23.61 quarters, which is about 5.5 years. That is it for the analysis of the latest updates of Warren Buffett's portfolio. Go ahead and comment down below what you think of the latest moves that Warren Buffett made, and let me know what your favorite stock is. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to not miss the next video.